welcome back to another exciting and thrill-filled adventure with DIY Nautical Dream. Okay, maybe that was a little over the top. Anyways, we'll go ahead and get our next video started.
Hi guys, it's
Hi, guys.
us again.
Welcome back. We're here.
We're gonna be here forever. Anyways, this week's episode, husband's gonna show you a little bit of progress in Galley overhead. And then he's finding a solution to moisture in the Galley overhead at the same time, right?
Yeah, we're always fighting against moisture on this boat, seems like, so.
And more demolition in the Galley area, right?
Yeah, more demolitions going on in the Galley overhead because we keep finding more
water leaks, damage.
Yeah, and rotted plywood and all that good stuff. So, yep. It's okay. We expected it, but we had no idea it was going to be anything like what we're facing. So this is a lot more than we expected.
Yeah, and it's a project that he likes to do, so.
Oh, yeah, it's my favorite. But again, this is something the surveyor never found. So we were pretty surprised that all the things he was screaming about, he never touched on this idea or this topic. So, but anyways, that's where we're at. We got our work cut out for us. And if you like Galley overhead projects, you're in luck because we got a long one going on here. Yep. So, anyways.
Stay tuned, guys. We're going to show you how far we get.
To show some of the updated progress we're making in the overhead structure repair project. Not only in the galley, but in the forward part of the main salon as well. And we just continue to want to make this progress a little bit at a time, a lot at a time, as long as we're making progress. So let's go ahead and get into it and start detailing some of the things we've done. Well, so far we've got 3 sections of the new ceiling overhead panel in. Yep. Nice and solid. Yep. So we fiberglass tabbed that all in, epoxied the edges, epoxied the seams, fiberglass taped the seams. And yeah, it's a pretty solid setup we got going here now. So we're definitely happy with that. This is new plywood replaced here. The other piece was just completely rotten. Well, you can see right here, all this has still got to be replaced, but we can't replace that until we re-staple this, reattach the vinyl here, and then we'll be able to drop that edge there and replace all that. So, because if we drop the vinyl there and here at the same time, we're gonna lose our shape, we're gonna lose our form, and it probably won't go back together as nice. So, I don't know. Sometimes we wonder if this stuff is going to be any good at all when we put it all back together, but we're going to find out. And if not, then we'll order more. We'll order some new vinyl, and we'll just replace it. But I'd rather keep it if I can. And we'll see how it goes. All right, let's get up to date on the Galley overhead structure repair project. This is one of the areas I'm pretty happy with the turnout. We sprayed this with insulating foam, and it turned out pretty good. And that stuff's in there nice and tight, very solid. And I feel pretty good that it's going to do its job and prevent condensation from being able to form in this area, because without the foam and without that black insulation, it's thin, but it was without that attached to the outer wall there was water dripping in here even when it wasn't raining out. So yeah, and anyways, so we were pretty confident we fixed the leaks and all that. I need to pull this out because I was using that to hold the wood down while the fiberglass under here was curing, so that would hold down the pressure on it. So that worked. Now what we'll do is we're going to install the next section of plywood here, and then once that sets up, we'll spray some more foam down here and over in here nice and tight, and then up in this corner as well. I need to pick up a few more cans of that stuff, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. This stuff's very well set up, and it's pretty solid. So, you know, hope we never have to get in there to do anything, but it's just a big open space we weren't going to use anyways. This is going to be all closed up with vinyl and everything. You won't even see it once you come into the boat. This is going to be all enclosed, and it's just going to be a part of the ceiling of the boat, just like what's going on over here. You won't see any of that over there either, but that's what's going on underneath. We're going to go ahead and get ready to install this next section right here today. That should come about to here, I think. I'll put some more insulating foam on there. Let that set up. From the little bit of research we've done about condensation on boats, from what we understand, it's a constant battle, especially in the climate we live in with the extreme temperatures where it's warm on the inside of the boat and it's very cold at times on the outside of the boat. And if there's no core in the fiberglass, then there's really basically no insulation that's protecting against that condensation condition forming inside the upper areas and sometimes lower cavities of the boat. So what we're trying to do to combat that is the spray foam and then the high density black foam insulation that we're going to attach to the inside structure of the boat. And we're hoping that creates enough of a temperature barrier that the condensation won't form. So it's kind of experimental, but at the same time, we're hoping it works. All right, well, we got the next piece of thin insulation stuck up here. What a mess that is, that 3M adhesive spray. It's a pretty messy application, but man, that stuff really holds. So that's good. And then we'll fill this in with foam insulation next time. So anyways, all we're trying to do is prevent the condensation from forming on this wall here, because I notice when it's really cold outside and it's warm in the boat, we get some water dripping here, just in this area on the wall here. So, and up forward we were getting it. So that's what all the foam's for. Anyways, hey, and it's extra flotation for the boat. So if we ever need it, we'll have it. This ought to save us. Anyways, it's all good. The black insulation foam that we're using is a high density insulating foam, and the roll we bought is a 1/4 inch thick, and we bought it online. And this is just merely an experiment we're trying, but so far it's proven to be useful and effective against condensation in these areas. This is what you call another high quality installation here on DIY Nautical Dream. We only do the best kind of quality craftsmanship, and this here is another example of what we call fine quality. That's right. This is the kind of stuff money can't buy. You have to put the love and care into it as you're doing it yourself. That's why it's DIY, do it yourself. Yep, here we go. As we were spraying the foam insulation inside this open area up here, it sometimes expands a little faster than we can anticipate it to, and it was overrunning the edge, and some of it had dripped onto the surfaces below. Well, this is one of the pieces we found down below on the floor, and when I picked it up, it reminded me of a big tooth. And if you look back in our video series, way back in the beginning, there's one about a big tooth knocked out. Well, anyways, that's where this came from. So, okay, next up, we're going to prepare the area for installing our next section of epoxy treated plywood up into the galley overhead area. And so we got to lay down some thickened epoxy in the slots, and then we'll get ready to slide that next piece of plywood in there. It's a messy job, but someone's got to do it. All right, this is pretty messy stuff. If you don't hold your tongue just right, it doesn't go in very easy. That's all I know. Right facial expression helps immensely in this step. Almost. Not gonna be any real clean way to do this. All right, we got it to drop in and drip. We got it to drip in. There's no real easy, clean way to do this. This will work. So now what we're gonna do, take this, push it in there, squeeze that down, take this, push it over here. Okay, let's see what that did. Okay, that gives us good squeeze out, holds everything into place. Ooh, right into the cup. That was pretty good. All right, now we're trying to get some. This is going to be. No matter how we do this is going to be messy. So. We'll at least have to make the attempt to try and get the epoxy in there. We want to have a good joint, you know. All right. So what we do each time we install a new one of these sections of plywood, we tap them into place. We're not tapping it with a lot of force, but enough force to get it mated evenly all the way across, but not so much force that it squeezes out all the thickened epoxy we put in between there, because we want to have that. We want to have a nice little bead of thickened epoxy left in there, but not so hard of an impact with the hammer that it makes it all squeeze out. So there's kind of a happy medium, a little fine line. You don't want to go too far or too little. And then once that's done, we're going to eventually put some fiberglass across the top of that seam. So now that we have the ends of plywood butted together and we have the adequate squeeze out, we're going to go ahead and clean off the extra leftover thickened epoxy. We'll clean it off with a little tongue depressor or popsicle stick, whatever you want to call it. And once we get that cleaned off, then we'll have that surface prepared for adding a piece of fiberglass cloth across it. And the other thing I want to do is up here in the upper left corner of the plywood, you can see that it's kind of sitting up a little bit high off of the fiberglass tabbing. So I'm going to take a little plastic nozzle off of like a seal gun, and I'm going to push that in there, and it's going to push that down just enough that we get it to make good contact with fiberglass tabbing, because we want to have a nice bond there. The thickened epoxy in there will be the bonding agent, but we want to make sure there's good contact. We don't want to have more gap than we need. So anyways, yeah, there we go. And so that's just good enough that we're looking for, and we'll go ahead and move on with the cleaning the excess squeeze out. Once we finish cleaning off all the excess squeezed out thickened epoxy, we can start preparing the surfaces for fiberglassing. Now the messy part, the more messy part, fiberglass. This is always messy and drippy. Pretty much gets everywhere. But honestly, I kind of like doing it as well, so it's a little bit of satisfaction knowing that we're going to be closing up one more section on the boat here up in the overhead part of the galley. So yeah, it's a big deal. But messy. So what we're doing here is we're just wetting down the surface where we're going to be applying the fiberglass cloth. We're wetting it down with epoxy resin, just regular epoxy resin. It's not thickened or has any material added to it. And so by doing this, it's going to make the surface a little bit more sticky, and then we're hopefully that the fiberglass cloth will stick on here a little bit better, because we're working overhead. Fiberglassing in the overhead position is a little bit tricky, but we'll get it. It's going to be messy no matter what, but we're trying to eliminate it if we can. Come on, settle down. These strings, once they get going, they want to get out of hand real quick. So we gotta put a stop to that. Okay. And fiberglassing is not one of my strong points. It's just something that I want to get better at, but the only way we'll get any better at it is if we do it. Of course, working overhead, fiberglass and overhead, I don't think is easy for anybody. But most people probably want to use a roller in this application, but this is the way I'm doing it. So we're using the chip brush here to spread out the epoxy resin throughout the cloth. And then once we have it spread out pretty good, we'll take the tip of the brush and start dabbing it to pop the air bubbles that are underneath the cloth, like we're doing here. And you can also use that to kind of move the cloth into places where we want it to sit up against the edge of that thickened epoxy that we spread on the seam before. So we'll just kind of keep dabbing it with the brush and spreading it and add more resin at the same time until we get it to where we feel like we have it good enough. And then you just kind of have to get to the point where you're willing to leave it alone and quit messing with it, because sometimes the more you mess with it, the more you get strings of fiberglass hanging down and everything's going crazy. All right, so we're okay there. It's not the best, but it's gonna work because we got the epoxy in the joint there, the epoxy filler, and it gives us a lot of forgiveness with fiberglass. It helps really make a good strong bond. So we'll be all right. This isn't really a heavy structure repair here anyways. We're just filling in this overhead section. Alright, that's on. As good as it's gonna get. Alright, we'll wet it out the rest of the way and then we're done with that. It's going to be messy. Lots of drips. Sometimes you gotta just leave it alone. It can get to a point where you start messing with it too much and it gets worse. It's hard to tell because there's the epoxy filler in there, and so anywhere that is, it gives it the appearance that there's an air bubble in there. Basically, we're just trying to hold the piece of wood in place. We're not trying to make it waterproof or anything like that. We just want it to stay. All right, so we got another piece of plywood, epoxy coated plywood, epoxied in and tabbed in, fiberglass tabbed in here. So, yep. Another section in. That's more progress. So, look at where we're at. Nice. Man, if time just didn't go by so fast. I was really wanting to redo the wiring up here. I needed to redo the wiring with some newer, better quality wire. And then once the wiring is done, then we can start, trying to do some of that action, huh? Yeah, so. Yep. We'll see. We'll get there. We will get there soon. Now that we have several sections of new plywood fiberglassed and epoxied in place in the galley overhead, we can turn our attention towards the wiring up forward in the forward main salon area, because we want to rewire that area. We want to put new wiring in there, which will be an upgrade. And we also want to add more wiring so we have different lighting options later on down the road, because we might want to put dimmers in there, or we might put some kind of LED backglow lighting or something in there. So we want to have options to be able to dim some of the lights independently. So we're going to add some extra wires in that area. We need to do that before we can close up that vinyl. But now is the time to do that, so we can start moving on with stapling some of that vinyl back into place, so we can start moving on to other projects. So this is a seam of the vinyl that we're going to want to start stapling back together, and then we'll work our way aft. Well, here we go. Wish me luck. What we're starting to do now is we're going to start buttoning this back up, working our way aft. I've rewired up inside here for the new light fixtures that'll be coming sometime later on down the road. And I've left enough extra wire up in there so that when we start over on that one, that side right over there, we'll be able to pull the slack all the way across, and so there'll be new wire running underneath each one of these, and we'll pull it over to there. I can't pull it right now because I believe there's going to be some wire support ties here, and probably right on the back side of this and all the way across. Eventually we're going to drop the vinyl on this side, so it'll work out. It's just planning up ahead of time. So anyways, there might be a little bit of a bulge there. I'm going to try to avoid it. We'll see what we can do, but yeah, I want to leave that extra wire up in there. So anyways, right now the task is going to be I'd like to get at least to there. So that's the goal. At least get it stapled to about here. We'll see how it looks. Anyways, that's what's going on right now. Wish me luck. So here you can see we're making a little bit of progress stapling this vinyl back into place. This vinyl is old, it's brittle, it doesn't have a lot of stretch left in it, and so it's really hard working overhead trying to pull the vinyl back into place and stapling it together at the same time. But we're making it work, and that's what matters. Well, looky here. Little bit of progress. Man. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. All the way down. Looking good. For a person that's not really good at doing any kind of interior work, I'm not doing too bad at this. See, this is gonna go up here, something like that, you know. Won't even see the seams. That, my friends, is what we're gonna call a thing of beauty. Yep. I have hope. I think we're gonna be able to save the vinyl. So working our way aft, I want to get around the hatch frame here. I want to get around this. I want to go ahead and get all this stapled in. But what I have to do is I have to really just pull super hard, hold it in place, and then with the other hand, with this hand, I have to staple, you know, and something like that. So you got to put a lot of pressure on it. Head's looking up, neck's bent back. But one day, it's all going to be worth it. That's right. We're going to be sailing tropical midnight off into the sunset. All right, it's time to have a little bit of participation from the audience. So let's get a vote here. All right? So just try to imagine this being the trim piece here. You know? All up against there like that, looking nice and pretty. You know? I'll make it look good. So this, the white, which was already in here before, or this concept I have here. I've been making a piece of teak here, and I'll make it look nice. It'll all be nice and pretty, varnished real shiny with nice rounded over routed edges, some varnish on it. All right, so what do you think? Thing of beauty or what? Or everybody likes a white vinyl? Take a vote. We hope you leave your comments down below whether you like the white vinyl trim or if you like the teak trim to cover up the seams of where the staple joints are together on the vinyl. Please leave your comments down below. We'd like to hear from you. Well, not too bad for today, considering this is Friday after work, just for a few hours. But yeah, so we went ahead and got the vinyl buttoned up in the very forward area up there, and started to go around the hatch cutout. But I'm getting ahead of myself now because I still have to run more wires. The wiring up underneath the vinyl. We decided we're going to upgrade the wiring to newer marine gauge wire versus this. You know, it worked, right? But anyways, we're just going to go a little bit nicer. But yeah, this is pretty good progress. Baby's happy with it. And you all know how the saying goes. Happy wife, happy life. So we'll move on. And we'll just keep on keeping on. So it gets a little tricky around the hatch area here, and did pretty good with it. So stopped right about here because, like I said, underneath here we're doing wiring, and then I stopped right here. I just kind of did a staple right here because this here I'm having a little bit of trouble, to be honest. Got to stretch it. I gotta pull it this way a little bit just to get that edge. I want to get that edge net with this edge here. It doesn't have to be, but I feel like it'll help. So I'm pulling it as tight as I can. Plus, while pulling this way tight, I gotta pull it that way tight so we don't get a little bit of this action going on here. But that's for another day. Right here, nice and tight. This is tight. This is tight. Nice. Very good. Okay? So that's cool. Anyways, we're making it. We're getting there. This is just a little sneak peek at what's to come down the road. This is a lighting fixture I bought. We want to try it out on the boat. And so, sorry I have to hold it up, but this is kind of what it's going to look like. So that's what it'll be on our nighttime setting. And then this will be a little bit bright, a little bit more, and a little bit more. Now, that really lights up nicely, so anyways. And then back to off, and then there's the nighttime setting. Yep, pretty wild. So, these are not cheap, by the way. But anyways, just a little sneak peek. So yeah, we're pretty happy to have found these light fixtures online, and I think we're definitely going to order more of these and put them throughout the main salon area of the boat and in through the galley area. They have multiple levels of lighting, so you can have them on like a night mode with the blue light only, or various different of the daylight mode. And we like the color. It's not that blue white LED color. It's more of a warm white, so we like that. It's kind of nice and attractive, and it puts off a good amount of light inside the boat. So I think we're going to definitely go forward with getting more of these. We're kind of looking for something a little more nautical than this, but compared to what we have been able to find on the market, these look pretty good. And if you remember what was in the galley overhead before we pulled that apart, these are a big change in the right direction. So these
we're pretty happy with them. We're going to go forward with it. We just wanted to kind of give you a sneak peek and show you what's to come down the road for our lighting needs. Looks pretty good. One thing's for sure, we might be slow, but we're steady. And we're continuing to make steady steps in the right direction. We're making some good progress. And closing up this small area of the vinyl is another one of those morale boosters. So we're pretty happy to be able to step back and take a look and see what's going on and see some of the changes in the positive direction. Instead of ripping something apart and taking more things apart and all that, we're actually starting to put things slowly back together. And it's all new pieces that are underneath, the new pieces of plywood that we've protected with epoxy and thick paint. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing this part coming together. It's already starting to take shape and it's looking good. Well, we made some more progress today, albeit a little slow, but we got some progress. I'm telling you what, closing this vinyl up is not easy at all, but we're getting there. And then I went ahead and dry fit the hatch frame just so we can get an idea of what that's starting to look like. And we got the wires hanging down for the light fixtures that we still have to install and finish ordering, but we're getting there. I went ahead and finished all the wiring that was up in here, and so we got the extra wires hanging down for the new light fixtures that are yet to be here. Right here there's a support post that goes from here to here. It's more like a grab handle or whatever for when you're in a heavy seaway. And then in here went ahead and installed the piece of plywood there with the black stripe on it. Installed that, painted it, and we're now at the stage of going to install the next piece of plywood here and start running wires here for the next light fixtures. There's actually a lighting fixture that goes here, and then there's one that's going to go here. But we're almost at a point where I can't close any more of the vinyl up, because if you see, it's starting to inhibit my access up to there, because I still have more. I have another piece of wood to put in there, and I have more to cut out here. But anyways, so I think that's about as far as we're going to go with closing up the vinyl for right now. I wanted to close more of it up, but I didn't realize that it was going to limit my access like it is. So we're gonna hold off on adding or closing up any more vinyl, but we got lots of work to do back there. We have all this to start removing right here. We got to remove this, open that, and remove all these pieces here. And we gotta get this out of here and open up the rest of the vinyl and go ahead and repair the old wood that's up underneath. If you look right here, see that movement? We're not going to have any of that. Nope, we're not. Because all that does is, cause problems down the road. So we're going to fix it now. Anyways, like I said, that's about as far as we're going to go closing up the vinyl, because it's starting to cut off access back there. So we're good for here. I might add a couple more safety staples right here just to kind of pull those together right about this far back, and then we're done. We're not gonna close up any more of the vinyl. So, but yeah, look at that. Not bad. See, it'll come together. But to get this to join here, these two pieces here, I had to hit it with the heat gun quite a bit just to get it to stretch, but it will stretch. So that's a good thing. Anyways, looking good. And yeah, once we button this up, I think we're gonna look pretty good. So, and then we still got a light fixture that's gonna go here, one there. Now it's time to turn our attention to starting to disassemble more of the galley overhead structures. And these are some of the aft light fixture housings. And then the big white box that you see off to the left. We're not sure what's behind there, but that is really sagging down at the forward end. And we just know that down the road that's going to continue to deteriorate. There's obviously got to be some kind of rot or something going on back there that's causing that to get weak. But we can see that it's drooping, and at the top it's not even staying butted up against the vinyl at the ceiling part. So we're going to take that off, see what's going on in there. And then underneath this, the aft light housing is a power winch. So that's actually a cover for the upper deck power winch there. So that's nice to know that's going on in there. And then we'll know if we ever have to get in there for any kind of electrical maintenance or whatever down the road, we know where it's at now. So that was a new discovery for us. But yep, taking this apart is not going to be any fun. We labeled and taped everything so we know where everything goes, because we don't know how long it's going to be apart for. So memory will not serve us well when it's time to put it back together. That's why we have to put the tape with the identifying marks on it everywhere. Some of the things we find when we take things apart amazes me. I mean, it looks like some of this is just scrap wood they had laying around the boatyard, and they said, oh, we can use this as a mounting bracket, or we can use this as that. And they just double layer them on top of each other and put screws on top of screws to hold some of this stuff together. But we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're just going to use what was here when we put it back together, unless it appears like it's rotten or whatever. We're just going to reuse it and maybe put some penetrating epoxy on it if we feel like it's an area that's got some moisture going on in it. But for stuff like this, we're just going to put it back how it was. That's why we numbered and put arrows on it for alignment purposes, so we know how everything goes back together. When it comes time to put stuff back together, I'm sure it's going to be a long time down the road and we probably won't remember. So the pictures help, but also the tape and the marks on there will also give us some ideas on how things are supposed to line up. So, and it's important that everything lines up, because these are boxes that are going to butt up against each other, and we don't like gaps. So we want to make sure everything's a good tight fit when we're putting it all back together. All right, so we're looking from the galley aft, and went ahead and removed the cover that was here and drilled out the plugs and removed the trim that was up here. So also remove this person right here. And anyways, next we'll pull this and the fasteners up there, and with any luck this should drop down. So that's what we're hoping for. That'll be next. Well, there it is. There's that big floppy rotted box that we got off there. Oh my gosh, that thing's huge. And it's just plywood wrapped in white foam backed vinyl too. Alright, so we got the big cover off that was covering this. Man, that thing was a pain. The whole problem was there was a couple hidden screws. There was let's see, there was one there, one hidden there, so I had to pull this cover off. Well, yeah, this cover here, had to pull that off to get to that one, and then way back up under there, that was the problem, the main problem, because there's no way to get to that screw, and it goes up into the fiberglass about a good solid inch. So there was no way I was going to get to it other than pulling this whole cabinet system out, and that wasn't going to happen. So one way or the other was coming out, and I figured, well, something's going to give. And here's what gave right there. So we broke, well, I broke the what do you call it, this Formica or whatever cover plate. So the pieces are here behind the tape. I can put them all back in there, and with a little bit of friendly epoxy, this will be barely, you won't even notice it really unless somebody pointed it out to you. And yeah, so anyways, I'm happy we got it out. And the whole reason for needing to get it out is because of this right here. All this plywood up here is just, you know, it's pretty solid right there, but you know, there's parts of it right here. It's just not, it's gone. Wouldn't take much. Wouldn't take much for it to just let loose. So I had a feeling that's what was going on up here. And the other nice thing that I noticed is you see this little screw pointing out here. Well, this nice little ground wire was sitting right on there like that. So we're gonna fix that while we're in here too. Yep, that goes to this big winch right here. So, and this here's the big cover piece that I was removing. And so anyways, we got it out of there. It's pretty long. I'd say it's probably at least 6 feet, so maybe more. Anyways, it's out. And I think the other thing I don't like is you can see staining right here. So there had been some water sitting on here before. See right there? So I got to figure out what we're going to do about this. We might have to, I don't know. Gonna have to think about that one. Part of me would like to just rebuild it, but maybe we can do something else. Might be able to fiberglass it on the inside or something, but it'd have to be a really good bond. I'd like to strengthen this up so it's not flimsy. But you see right there? I'm not happy about that. So now that we have this off and we're taking a closer look at it, it's looking pretty clear that this has got some early stages of wood rot going on here from the water pooling on that and sitting on it for a long time. So we might do some experimenting on this and use some penetrating epoxy on it. We'll get it home and we're going to sand it up really good so that the wood's got a rough surface on it. We'll use some heavy grit sandpaper on there and get it really rough and scuff, and then put some penetrating epoxy on there and see if it doesn't absorb deep into the wood, and maybe we can save it. We'll give it a try. What do we got to lose, right? So people often say, wow, we really use a lot of blue tape on this stuff, but we're putting this tape on here for index marks so we know how everything lines back up when it goes back together. Because once we unstaple this vinyl, it's going to shrink, it's going to twist, it's going to flex, it's going to do all kinds of crazy things. And who knows how long we're going to have it down for before we put it back up. So we just want to make sure everything goes back where it came from when we're putting it back together. And otherwise we're going to have a headache trying to do all this. It's just a lot of fine details to try and remember over time. And we could be at this for a long time, maybe 6 months or longer before we're putting everything back together. Just a lot of little details to try and remember. And so taking these still pictures like this and putting the blue tape on there, these will be really key in putting things back together. We're going to use these as reference guides and it'll help. So if you got a project like this or you're tackling one like this, you might want to consider something like this or some other method of referencing how everything goes together before you take it apart. When it comes to removing the wood plugs or the bungs from your mahogany or teak trim or your woodwork that's in the boat, I drill these small pilot hole first, and then I step it up with a drill size that's just going to be slightly smaller than the hole for the plug or the bung. And then I'll demonstrate here in just a second on, sometimes they come out really easy and sometimes they give you a little bit of grief, but I'll do a couple of them here for you and then you can see what I'm talking about. So like I said, I already got my pilot hole started, and then I just kind of slowly drill. Now this one here, that one didn't come out so nice. Let's see what we get on this one here. Okay, that one came out nice and clean. Let's see what we get here. Clean. That's what we like, because when they come out like that, then that helps us when it's time to remove the screw out of there. It helps out a lot, because now we don't have the problem with the wood being part of the plugs covering the fastener head, and nice and clean. See that one? Comes right out. And now see how this one goes here. Nice and clean. So I'll show you the differences. What the achieved goal is, we want that where you have access to the fastener head right there. See, nice and clean, nice and clean, nice and clean. Not this one. This one here still has wood covering the head of the fastener. That one's clean, that one's good, and that one's good. So the next step's going to be pulling those fasteners out. So we'll show you how that goes. But it's usually not too bad as long as the fastener head's clear. And like right here, this one looks to be like when they put it in, they burred the mess out of it. So we'll see. Well, it's not burred too bad, but it's got junk in the head. That one looks all right. That one's the one that didn't come out super clean. That one would be all right. This one here, so you can see that's what's going on when they don't come out all the way. So that one I'm gonna have to pick it out with a metal pick set, and then by clearing that out, we'll get good access to the fastener head. There we go. See that? Okay. And there. All right. So now we have good access to the fastener head. That'll make getting that out a lot easier than fighting with it. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and start removing the fasteners. Nice and long. Ends here. All right. Nothing major there. So what I'll do now is I'll get some tape, some of the wider tape. I like this wide tape here. What that does is it allows me to I'm just going to tape the fasteners to the board here. Yeah, down the drain, that'd be nice. We kind of don't want that to happen. Okay. So all we're doing is taping the screws down. That way I know exactly where they're at when it's time to put this back on, because who knows how long it's going to be. Hopefully not real long. We're getting better at these getting better at putting replacing the wood here and rebuilding the hatches. So, all right, so that's out of the way, and when it's time to go back together, it'll line up. We'll have hopefully some good success with that. So, anyways, that's where we're at on that. Nice thing is there's a divider right here where these two panels separate, and then so all I have to do now to get this panel off is remove this piece here, remove the port light, and then this panel is gonna I gotta take the staples out off the top here with the vinyl attached to it. And so this is the whole reason why we're taking this apart. See, just look at, it's been getting wet back here for quite a long time. So we're rebuilding everything, putting new plywood in the overhead, everything. So we're putting new teak here. It's gonna be teak in the end, so yep, but we're getting there. Okay, we have the port light removed, and as you can clearly see, there was plenty of amounts of 5200 holding that securely into place, but yet not preventing it from leaking. So anyways, we'll get all this 5200 cleaned up and get ready to start removing this teak panel here, and we'll get everything cleaned up and see what we're going to do next. And when I say cleaned up, I use the term loosely, of course. Well, got the port light out. Oh, was that a pain? Oh, the PO used tons and tons and tons of 5200. I mean, it was like super thick all the way through here, and it's cold outside, so 5200 does not cut well when it's cold out, that's for sure. But anyways, we got it out. So then what's coming up next is we're gonna go ahead and get this out. It ends right here, so this should be fairly straightforward to get that out. And then we're continuing to work on removing the vinyl and peeling it back this direction, and we'll get to a point where we can stop, say right about here, and then I want to make a cut, and all the plywood that's right there, bring that home as a template, make a new one. But I don't know about today. Time's getting away from me, so I don't know if we'll get that far today or not, but we're hoping to at least get this out so I can make a new one of these during the week. All right, that's where we're at. As we prepare to pull this teak panel off here, pay close attention to the back side. Once the panel comes off, look at the sidewall of the cabin top and look at the back of the panel when it comes off, and you'll see a large amount of moisture back there. So that's one of the things we're trying to combat, is all that condensation and extra moisture that's pocketing and pooling in all these hidden areas. It gets trapped in there and it has no way out. Hopefully there's not, oh, here we go. Come on, 5200. Hopefully there's not still a leak that I don't know about. Oh yeah.
gonna just get out of there or what? Okay. Yeah. It's wet here. It's wet there. So, that's interesting. Oh yeah. Look at the back side of that. A little bit of 5200 here and here. These are for gap filler, and it just turns into steel. Man, I don't know why people do that. And it doesn't matter how much 5200 you use. If you have a problem, it doesn't fix it. It just makes it harder to repair later. Yeah, so we got some water up here, so we have to figure that out. Well, that's all right, because when we get this overhead section down here, we're going to see where the water's coming from. I know there was some leaks up forward, but we have fixed those, but if the air doesn't have a chance to get to it, it's still going to stay wet, so we'll see. We will see. Either way, we'll figure out what it is. We'll figure it out. So these are the rotted pieces of plywood that are in the overhead section up above here, right above that teak panel we removed. So we want to get those down, we want to get them dried out and somewhat secure so that we can use those as templates to make our new replacement pieces. But you can clearly see there's some moisture going on up in there, and it's been trapped between those pieces of plywood and the overhead structure up there. So I'm not sure if that's all condensation or if we got something else a little more serious going on, but we're definitely going to want to figure that out before we proceed with putting new pieces back in. When we first dropped that panel, I was a little concerned when I saw that moisture back there on the sidewall there of the cabin top. But the longer that panel's been off and the more air has had a chance to get to it, it seems like that water is drying up and dissipating fairly quickly. So now I'm starting to wonder if it was more just condensation than anything else trapped in there, and it just needed some air to get at it and dry off. So we're definitely going to keep this area under surveillance and see what happens over time, especially like on rainy days, and we'll see what happens from there. Hopefully it's just a matter of condensation forming and it had no way to get out. That would be the preferred problem to deal with right there. Next up, we're going to get ready to cut the access hole into this overhead panel, and that'll be something that we'll use for access later. And we're also going to fish some wires for lighting and things like that down through there, so we need to get that cut.
Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed that project for this week's. And before this video end, thank you to our patrons who let us use his microphone.
Yeah, thanks again, Brandon.
No.
Appreciate it.
Anyways, go ahead, honey.
Yeah, so for this week's episode, to wrap up today's progress, we think we found a solution to preventing condensation moisture from forming up in the galley overhead cavity area. And so we added some thin high density foam insulation, and then I'm not sure if this is a mistake or if it's a solution to a problem, but putting spray foam up in that cavity as well. You know, if we ever have to get back in there later, I think we're gonna hate the fact we put that spray foam in there. But if we never have to get in there, we're gonna be really happy it's there because it won't allow any moisture to form, no condensation. So we'll see how it works out over time. If we have to get back in there, we'll end up regretting it. But if we never have to get back in there, we'll be happy that it's there. So we continue to demolition more of the galley overhead, cutting more of the rotted plywood out, and just making the project bigger. We still haven't got to the point to where we're getting closer to the end of the project. We're still getting farther into it. So this is going to be a long project. We had no idea it was going this long or going to be this big, but we're in it and we're figuring out our solution to our problems as we discover them on the way. So it seems like a lot of slow progress, but we're trying to figure our way through this and sort all kinds of issues out at the same time. So hang in there. We'll get through it, and we're continuing to move forward a little bit at a time, and we really appreciate your patience. We like to say thank you to all the new subscribers who have joined us and come on board to watch our journey through this project boat.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. If you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe down below, and don't forget to like.
Down below is down there.
Right.
Ding.
Stay tuned.
Yep, stay tuned. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. And don't forget to comment. Let us know what you think. What would you do differently? We're new at all this, and we're discovering our solutions along the way. So thank you for your patience, and thanks for watching. See ya. Now there's a nice looking shell. I'd keep that one.
And what's that?
My idea. Oh, we got a boat coming. It's this guy. Nice. Dang. 5 engines on the back. That was sweet.